All right, we're back on the 65 ElCamino again. Turn signal time. Time to get these turn signals working and get my brake lights working properly. If you watched the video before on this, I discovered that my turn signal switch is bad because my brake lights weren't working. Sometimes it would work on one side, sometimes it wouldn't work at all. Sometimes my turn signals would just start flashing by themselves going down the road. So we're having some bizarre electrical stuff going on, and seems to be all from a bogus turn signal switch in the steering column. So I've taken apart the steering column already, as you can see. Wheels off, collars off, and we've exposed the turn signal switch, which is an aftermarket one, or has been replaced before, I'll say that. And the wires are all boogered up down there where it connects. It's got some butt connectors on it. They've taken the horn button wire out and rigged up a button under the dash so it'd have some sort of a horn. I don't know if that was to pass inspection for something at one point, but it does have a functioning horn. It just doesn't, it's not on the steering wheel. So I'd ordered a turn signal switch from O'Reilly's, and it took me like a week to get it. Something kept happening. I don't know if it was getting lost in the mail or what, but so when I finally got it, the connector was wrong. You know, don't you love tearing something apart and it's sitting in the shop and can't drive it? Well, I shouldn't have been driving anyway because of the taillights, but yeah, connector was wrong, so I returned that and I started doing some research, and I've finally found one. It's Summit Racing. It is part number PP00030. Let's see it there. This is for 64 through 66 Chevelle ElCamino, 66 Chevy 2, 65, 66 Oldsmobile, it looks like. And I don't know if anything else because the sticker's covering it up. So we've got the right connector this time. Nice new switch. Hopefully this will fix my turn signal and braking light problems. All right, we are and also ordered fittings for this Trans Am, and they shorted me one, so they're sending me another fitting. Boy, I can't get these hoses done on this Trans Am to save my life. This has been just a dang nightmare. So you know, stuff, cars, hot rods, they can be a lot of fun. They can be a lot of grief, give you a lot of grief and agony. We're gonna get set up here and get this thing going. Okay, so this is the plug for the wiring that goes to our column here, to our switch, which is this way. You can see somebody's butt connected some stuff. We're not reusing this. Some wires are pulling out, yada yada. We are just gonna cut this thing right here, and it's gonna make it super easy to pull it out, and we can still reference the connector if we need to see how they had things, just in case the one we just bought doesn't plug up here properly, which it should, unless somebody has rearranged wires in this plug for some weird reason. Hopefully that's not the case. Okay, so back up at the column. This is how this thing installs, by the way, if you're curious. It just kind of locks in like that. We could probably just leave it like that because we're just going to pull these wires out just like so. And there we have the old switch. Now I just kind of want to take the new switch and just kind of look things over and see what it looks like in comparison. And definitely appears to be the right one. Of course, it's in a little bit better shape. That's the horn button, which the wire had been pulled out of this one. And we've got a button up under the dash, which all that will be gone eventually. We're going to redo all the wiring, redo the whole dash in this car. But anyway, that's what we're looking like. And so now we've got to figure out a way to get these wires with this connector on it through the column cover here. We know we're not going to fit this connector through there. So what we have to do, first we're going to take a picture of this. That way we know where all the wires go. And then we're going to take a pen tool and our connector pin out tool, or however you want to call it, and we're going to take this connector off of this wiring harness, and then that'll allow us to feed this harness back down through that column, just like we pulled this one out. And then we can slide the pins, which these are the pins, back in the connector, and it'll be just like factory. None of these raggedy butt connectors like are on this one. Look at that. This is the shape this was in. Look at the pins backing out of that connector. That may have been part of my problem, I don't know. That pin is almost pushed all the way out of that connector. That one is too. See that? Okay, before we get started here, I just want to talk about this setup I've got right here for a second on picking out these wiring connectors. I used to do this for a living. I did quite a bit of diagnostic work mobily, and I was a dealer tech for, just to give you a quick background before you hit that subscribe and that like button. I was a dealer tech for, I don't know, 12, 13 years, and I opened a full-blown automotive shop in 2005 and ran that till 2009. No, I'm sorry, in 2014. So from 5 to 14, we had a full tilt boogie automotive repair shop, fully loaded with employees and chassis dyno, and did all kinds of stuff. Quit doing that for a while, and then went in with a friend of mine that was running a mobile diagnostic company and helped him out for a few years, I don't know, 3 years maybe. And all we did was go around to collision centers and basically repair wiring harnesses, change wiring harnesses, fix suspension hits, and things like that. So we've acquired some tools over the years, because I've done this for quite a long time, that, you know, doesn't count all the stuff in middle and high school that we fooled with coming up through the ranks. But this is the pin out kit that I have, which is a little extensive compared to what most people need. But basically I've fooled around with this old connector just to make sure that I'm using the right tool and I'm not going to tear up my new connector, right? So we've got is basically just 2 wires. You can improvise. You can, instead of running out and buying a Steelman 23-piece universal terminal toolkit, but you can run out and buy one of these if you plan on doing a lot of wiring repairs. But you can use, I don't know, you might be able to modify like some tweezers. Might have to grind them down a little bit to fit your application, or you might even be able to use a paper clip and bend that into fashion to release your pins. There's quite a few things that you can use. Sometimes you can use picks, like just straight picks, like these picks here. I have been known to grind these down, sharpen them up to go in. A lot of times you'll just have one pin or one lock. On these there's 2, so that's why I've got this double one out. But a lot of times you'll just have a pin on one side or a lock on one side. I don't know if you can see that, but there's these tiny little, on each side of this connector, there's tiny little locks right there, right at the tip of my finger, right there, at the tip of my fingernail. There's one of those on both sides, and you're basically pushing this lock mechanism. Let me set this camera up and I'll show you. how to release it. You're pushing on either side of this, and it just pushes right out the back once you release those locks. And then when you want to put it back together, I'll show you that too, you just slide it back in. Sometimes you have to pry your little tabs back out just a little bit to grab. Sometimes they'll spring right back into position and they'll lock for you. Okay, so these that I've already pulled out, I'm going to just stick back in to show you how they just push in. The white one went in this hole, so you just shove it right back in, and back, it didn't lock. So okay, so if it's not locking when you push it back in, you might want to take a flathead screwdriver or a little pick and just bend out your tabs a little bit. I kind of went to the extreme on that one side, or both sides really. But once you get it in there, so now it's locked in place. And to take it back out, of course I'm using this one, trying to do this where you guys can see, just unlocking both sides. You basically just driving this down on either side of the connector, and bam, it releases like so. Pretty simple. I've seen guys come out with bloody fingers and all kinds of stuff from those, but if you use the right tool, you should be able to get the job done pretty easy. Like I said, you can use the 2-pick method, or you can get the right tools to do the job. You can probably find this pin kit like on Amazon or something, or at your local parts store. May have something like that, but I'm sure Amazon's got that kit, and it's probably not very expensive. It's a cool little arsenal, tool to have in your arsenal. All right, so I'm gonna pin this connector out, and we're gonna shove this harness, hopefully effortlessly, through the column, and then put our connector back together, plug it up, and hopefully throw this column together and have working brake lights and blinkers. God, I hope. All right, so that's how we're going to do it. We got the connector off, the wires are out. That'll give us a flat area, or it'll enable us to stick that wiring harness through that little thin slot that connector will never go through. And that's how the pros do it, okay? You can cut the wires and butt connect them like whoever hacked this thing together, but don't do that. It's not very difficult to do it the right way, all right? I hope you've learned something from that. A lot of wiring connectors pin out very easily like that. So if you're trying to stick a connector through a tight hole, building a hot rod, working on a stock replacement part, car, whatever, it's really not difficult to pin connectors out most of the time. Some connectors are harder than others, but for the most part, you can do it. All right, I'm trying to film this where everybody can see, and me still get some work done here. All right, so we're gonna try to keep our harness in good shape here. It's gonna go, there's 3 screws that hold it. Should go like that. So we're gonna go like this. Thought about taping the end of this up to keep these wires a little tighter together. I think I can slide her through. Not giving me too much trouble, but I may be wrong. I got some of them through. Come on guys. There we go. There we go. There we go. Got 2 stragglers. There we go. All right. So this thing has a bearing on it, and the steering shaft sits in that bearing, and there's 3 screws that hold it into into this column cover right there. So that doesn't feel like it's wanting to go down. Let's see. That's the blinker. So my blinker, that needs to line up with this slot right here, because that's where my arm goes through. Right here. So this needs to clock around like so. Just gonna pull this back off and take another peek at it. Make sure I'm doing things right. Keep my wires together here. That should be it. There we go. That felt like it dropped in better. And that will line up. I'm not going to put my screws in yet, but so my blinker, the arm goes here, and then we have a screw that goes through this hole, one here and one here. Okay. Now we're going to finish running our wiring down. And now I got to put my connector back together. All right, so got the phone back out because I took a picture with my connector. I got a Z Fold. If you're wondering, it's not a tablet, it's my phone. It's just folded out. So I got my connector back out. This is my back side. Back side has bigger holes than the front side. And that's how we push it back in. So I'll start with my green, go work myself around and plug it back in. All right, so green is the outside, David. So I believe it goes like this. No, it goes like this. Okay, just gotta work my way around, pushing my wires back in. They only go one way, so you can't really screw it up. I mean, you could start on the wrong side of the connector, I guess. I'm hoping I got that right. If not, we'll find out in a minute. And I'll just have to repin everything. But this should be the right way. Oops. Nope, I got ahead of myself. Talking to you guys and I screwed up. So I'll redo this here. Yeah, there we go. And if you pay attention closer than I am, the wires kind of fall in place. purple and black. All right, all the wires are pushed back through, and we'll give each one a tug to make sure that they won't pull back through my connector. And they're good and locked in. And then you can go back over here and make sure your wiring colors line up. And try to push it in. All right, ignore all my mess of wiring that I did not do on this side from this raggedy stereo system setup and these gauges. And this is my horn button, which still works. So you have to push that connector in pretty good. The locking tabs are on the side, so you kind of gotta use two hands. And I got that all put back together, so now we're gonna button up this and put my screws in here, and we will reassemble the column here, and hopefully we'll have some function. Okay, so I've got my screw back in here, here, and here, which this is the wrong screw, but this is what was in it. So I put it back in, and I got my lever on. And before we do anything else, keys on. I got a blinker. And I got a blinker. You can notice my lights are different colored in the dash. I would assume that's the original bulb and this one has been changed, but I don't know. That will be changed soon. And we're about to find out if my brake lights work. Got my brake pedal depressor. That's for my alignment rack stuff. I'll go back here. And yes, I've got brake lights. We have functioning brake lights. And you can see my lighting set up in the bed of the ElCamino to try to light up the cabin a little bit so you guys can see what I'm doing in there. It's dark in this shop, and it's been raining, so I couldn't do it outside, and it's a little chilly today. So, and the county has been paving the road behind us. They're gonna pave the road out in front of us here in the summer coming up, and widen our road. It's a pig trail out there. It's full of potholes, and it'll be much nicer to not have to dodge potholes coming out of the neighborhood. But functioning brakes, functioning blinkers is excellent. Now I can put the column back together. Left blinker's working, right blinker's working. They're not working in the front. I've got a connection problem going on up there. I think with just kind of the sockets are kind of crusty. I dealt with that before I went to sick week in 2022, the first sick week, and I kind of fooled with the connectors and cleaned them up a little bit and had it working, but they stopped working at some point. So I'm gonna put the wheel back on, and then we may raise it up and check those connectors again and see if I can't get those to work, because it's nice to have front blinkers working too. Not only the backs but the fronts. We may have to put colored bulbs in this deal. These lenses are so faded out, or maybe just get new lenses. I don't know if these are the factory lenses or not. I'm pretty sure they are, but you can see how light that is. They're definitely sun faded, and I don't even know if they make red bulbs. They make yellow ones, but I don't think they make red ones. And I just took my foot off the brake, or the pressure off the brake, and the brake lights did not stay on, which they normally do without having to. Before I was having to put my foot up under there. I don't know if the turn signal switch helped that situation or not. We'll find out shortly when we put the wheel back on, take it for a drive, and see if I have to fool with that. But before I was having a problem when you get out of the car, the brake lights would stay on. I replaced the brake light switch, and I've adjusted it a bunch of times, and I couldn't get that thing to work properly. So I was debating on putting a spring on the brake pedal to try to help it return, because it was just a touch. It just needed to return just a touch more. And I thought it may be in the rod going into the master cylinder, but we replaced the master cylinder, and I lubricated that rod with a little bit of wheel bearing grease where it goes in the back of the master. So it's definitely not that. But these pedals will be replaced soon, and we're going to get a clutch pedal set up in there, which will replace the brake and the clutch, because you get them together when you're going with a manual transmission. We're getting rid of the power glide, going with a 6-speed, so we can cross the country a lot easier with low RPMs and get a lot better fuel economy. Is the 9-inch I have for this thing has a 370 gear, and we're gonna add a lot more power when we redo the little small block that's going in it. So 6-speed, we're going stick shift racing. I've never done stick shift racing before. I've always had automatic, but I like the idea of being able to drive this thing across country with good fuel economy and low RPM, so we're not beating valve train out of the heads. Yeah, so that's going to happen soon. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, follow along, hit that bell notification if you're into that kind of stuff, and we'll see this thing hopefully at a Rocky Mountain Race Week soon. Definitely by Sick Week 2024. We just had Sick Week 2023 and I had to miss it, which I'm upset about. So and I plan on trying to attend some more drag and drive stuff. I've gotten bitten by the drag and drive bug, and it's a lot of fun. So if you haven't done a drag and drive, you should try one out. Okay, so we're going to put the canceling cam back in, and it's also your horn contact, but this one is in bad shape. It needs to be replaced, but I'm not going to replace it right now because my horn on this steering wheel doesn't work anyway, and I'm going to change the steering wheel eventually, so we'll go back and address that at a later date. But I need to drive this thing, so see the 2 notches there? You want to make sure these notches here, this one and this one, they need to go in between these 2 notches. So it should go like that, I believe. All right. There's supposed to be a spring that goes in there too, like a big spring. Well, this one's missing, so we're not putting that back in right now as well. Not a big deal. I don't know if they took that out when they were installing the steering wheel. I wasn't the one that originally came in here and took the original wheel off, so I'm not real sure. I kind of dig the original wheels on these cars too, and I wish I still had it, but I don't. Anywho, so we're going to put that on, and I still got my puller on here, so I need to take the screws out of this thing, and we'll get this back on so we bolt the steering wheel back up. And when you slide this back on, you can see that there's a little notch at the top, and it says top A, and there's a top B. I'm assuming I need to be on top A, but I'm not 100% certain because I didn't pay attention when I took it apart. So hopefully I don't have to clock the steering wheel any. We're about to find out. It should be pretty straight from the way I took it off, so we're going to line things up real quick and see if that's the case. And if it is, then we'll just slide this deal over it, line our steering wheel up, put our screws in, our bolts, and our horn button, which doesn't work, and that'll be it. Okay, so that's pretty straight. It should be where it's at. And then also have the washer and the nut. And like I said, I wasn't the one that modified this, but it does work. Ooh, it doesn't feel good. Let's try this way. So we'll tighten this up. Yeah, it feels better. Tighten these 3 up, and then I'll put the horn button on. And then we should be able to rock and roll. All right, with those tight and with the spring in place, you just Stick it on. That's it. That's what it would look like if it actually worked, but it doesn't work. So that's it. We got a steering wheel again. We got blinkers again. We got brake lights again. That's a great thing. Sorry about the lights. So we got some working blinkers. Like I said, I'm gonna play with the sockets in the front another time, but our brake lights work, our blinkers work, and they return. Just got back from driving it. And so yeah, hope you got something out of this. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. See you in the next one. Peace.